What up, y'all? 12:50 p.m. Eastern, 9:50 a.m. Pacific Time, Saturday morning, June 29th, giving you the update on what's happening Warriors land. Two major things. Lester Quinones, thank you for your service. We will not be giving him a tender, making him a free agency. We're going to go over his career with the Warriors, minimal it was. Of course, the big elephant in the room, Klay Thompson. Woj was on ESPN this morning and said, odds are sign and trade or Klay is gone. Not looking like he's a Warrior anymore. We're going to break down what he said and everything in between. And also the free agency moves that have happened that are impacting the Warriors. Randy Silver here, Warriors Digest. 14% of you are subscribed. Thank you so much. We've gained over 500 followers the past 3 days. Y'all loving this content. Multiple episodes a day, keeping you up to date on Warriors land. If you don't want to miss it, please subscribe. Okay, Lester, thank you for your service. The Golden State Warriors won't tender a qualifying offer to guard Lester Quinones, league sources told Hoops Hype. The 23-year-old will become an unrestricted free agent after shooting 36% from three-point range in 37 games last season. This was kind of seen coming. He wasn't getting paid a lot, but also after getting Lindy Waters from OKC, they're basically the same player. 3-and-D type players. Guards, three-point specialists, 40%, 36%, around that range. Play some scrappy defense. And you're getting someone who the Warriors think is probably a bit more proven than Lester. Lester's 6'4", Waters is 6'6", so you get a little bit more height. You're going to have a little bit more on the reach as well, the arm length. He only averaged 5 points last season, 2 rebounds, but didn't get a lot of playing time. We look here. He was a two-way player. His two-way contract became guaranteed on the team. No more two-way midway through the season. Didn't start any games. But when he went in, he made a couple threes, got some timely steals, was a pest on defense, and was a fan favorite. People like seeing him with the headband, brought good energy on the bench, was someone who, was one of those players on the team you need to be successful. Didn't do much in the playoffs. We didn't make the playoffs. In the play-in game, not even sure if he got in, to be honest. And on the last year of his contract, if we look at it right here, $548,000 is what he earned last season. Again, did they want to try to keep him and see if he became a restricted free agent? No tender offer, meaning he will be a free agent. Lester, thank you for your service to the Warriors. On behalf of Warriors Digest and Warriors fans, we appreciate everything you have done, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward. Now, someone who's a little bit more senior on the team, more integrated on the team, we got Klay Thompson. So what's the update with Klay? As I said, Woj was on ESPN. Klay Thompson's future in Golden State is tenuous at best. Tenuous at best. There's been really no communication between the Warriors and Klay. There's been no offer yet. Woj does note sign and trade could be possible for Thompson. Again, is that to Dallas, to Orlando, Clippers, Lakers, 76ers? You don't think he's going to the Knicks anymore because they're pretty cap tied after getting Mikal Bridges. And of course, the Knicks just re-signed OG as well. So it's going to be hard for them to get a contract in there with Klay. For the Magic, one of the teams, they're declining Joe Ingles' $11 million team option, but both sides are expecting to continue dialogue in free agency next week. They said this would be a barometer for Klay because they basically play the same position. Good, solid three-point shooter, plays some defense. Klay more than Ingles did. 2 years, $22 million, $11 per year. That's what Joe Ingles got last year from the Magic. It was a 1-1, opting out. Klay's looking for 25, 30 supposedly, wants multiple years. If Magic aren't willing to give multiple years and they can get the same type of production from Joe Ingles, then you probably keep Joe and you can do other stuff with the team, and that saves some money for you to go ahead and sign your big players who are coming up. You got Wagner and Banchero, who's going to need some contracts. D'Angelo Russell is picking up his $18.7 million player option per The Athletic and Stadium, staying in LA. He said in a quote, he wants to play with JJ Redick. He loves what JJ brings to the team, and the type of mindset offense he will provide this team fits Russell well. And again, what was JJ? 3-and-D shooter. Above average, if not like Top 10 in the league, 3-point shooter, multiple years in the league. Same thing when he was at Duke. You can get the best out of D'Angelo, potentially. Or they could use this as a trade chip and say, hey, we want a better 3-point shooter, not a ball handler 3-point shooter. Warriors sign and trade Klay, give him 2 years, $20 million, and then go ahead and trade him to the Lakers. Could be an option, something to look out for. That means D'Angelo is coming back to the Warriors. Is he going to start? Maybe he starts at 2, so then you have Steph, D'Angelo, Kuminga, Draymond, and TJD. Because you're not going to trade for him to have him come off the bench most likely. Or you move him to 1 and Steph to 2. So in that scenario, Brandon's probably going to the bench and becoming your 6th backup point guard. And Chris Paul's definitely not coming back. You would see the $30 million not be picked up in the trade piece unless they pick that up in the trade piece and then they want to try to trade for Paul George and make it Chris Paul, Wiggins, and maybe some other players and some draft picks in there. The decision of Thompson will play a role in what flexibility Warriors have. If they waive Chris Paul, again, that $30 million has been pushed to Sunday, the start of free agency. Not until July, the start of free agency. So what happens with Chris Paul will have a big effect on if the Warriors can make a trade because we're capped at the $189 million. Our salary can't go over it this year due to getting Lindy Waters for trading for salary. Right now, if the Warriors don't have Chris Paul, the Warriors would be $37 million below the tax threshold. The Paul $30 million contract is guaranteed if he's on the roster past June 30th, again, Sunday. So let's just show you again in what a picture looks like. Chris Paul, $30 million. Tomorrow, if it's guaranteed, you're at 174. If it's not, you're at 144. Meaning you have room to sign Klay Thompson back. You could give him $25, $30 million, multiple years. But it sounds like the Warriors aren't trying to do that. They don't want to do that, which is why this is all going down. After the offseason started, which was the day when the NBA Finals was over, after Game 5, Celtics win, you're able to negotiate with your own players. So if the Warriors and Klay were coming to a real contract, you would think it would have happened in that time. Not all these rumors about Paul George or other players or Klay potentially going to the Mavs, Magic. Think they would have figured it out. So they're pretty far apart, and that's what the insiders are saying. Again, we can't go over that second apron of 189. We already know what's happening in GP2. He opted in. We went ahead with Looney and guaranteed his contract. Could still be a chip. Biggest news, Paul George prioritized amid Klay Thompson NBA contract. That's who they're trying to get. Paul George is at $49 million. So if he opts in, we have to match that. That's why you would expect Chris Paul's contract to get guaranteed $30 million, and then you could do someone like Andrew Wiggins. That you're able to do that for Paul George. Clippers, would they do that? That's a different conversation. Or you do Chris Paul, Looney, and then I don't want Kuminga gone, but they could take that. That would get you in the vicinity. Moody and maybe another player if that's not Kuminga. And of course, we saw Bridges, 4 draft picks. What also just happened as well, Dejounte Murray traded from the Hawks to the Pelicans, multiple players and multiple first-round draft picks. So you have to think the Clippers are going to want multiple first-round draft picks. We also talked about earlier in the offseason, Murray coming to the Warriors and being a potential number 2, pushing Brandon to the bench, and he could play next to Steph. I know that Steph and Trae Young are very similar players, and people are like, no, that's not going to work for them working ATL. Why is it going to work in Golden State? So you may be happy that Murray's not coming to the Warriors, but what you need to know is these are players who potentially could have helped the Warriors who are not here anymore. So the basket of eggs is getting smaller and smaller. Nick Claxton staying with Brooklyn. Murray is now at Pelican. So it feels like Paul George is kind of that big fish. DeMar DeRozan, free agent, could be a nice scorer, number 2 next to Steph Curry. He could play 3, push Kuminga to 2. I know people don't like that idea, but in that case, you're not bringing DeMar to come off the bench. He can still prove he can do it. Look what he did with the Bulls last season. So there are some options out there. It's getting narrower and narrower, and we're going to find out literally in the next 24 to 36 hours what's happening. It's going to come to Chris Paul. Are we guaranteeing this contract? If the answer is yes, that means we're trading him somewhere. If we're not, then that means that we have room to spend to get free agency, and the biggest free agency is Klay Thompson for the Warriors in terms of who's in house, and if he's not there, he's going somewhere else, or we don't sign him, then DeMar DeRozan or other players like that could be interesting. Pelicans, of course, I just said they got Murray. Ingram's out there. He could come in and be our 3, be our 2 maybe, be a 4. He's that athletic. He can do all that. Be on the lookout for that. Maybe sign and trade over to New Orleans. Chris Paul could go back there. Maybe they want Klay Thompson. Who knows? But what we do know is Lester's not coming back to the Warriors. Thank you for your service. And things are happening in the NBA. And you're going to be signing in, subscribing to Warriors Digest so you don't miss anything daily. At this point, multiple times a day. Out, y'all.